Hello YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and welcome back to The Outsiders, and today I start my brand new video series, The Outsider Interviews. Now you've already seen from the intro that my special guest will be Dungeon Master Johnny. Now I need to explain a couple of the house rules that will follow this series. Now the first one of course is that this will not be a live interview. I won't be doing this via Google or Google Plus or for that matter Skype. No, that could come across as some sort of ambush on our guests, and I don't want that. So what I propose on doing in a moment is switching over to a slightly different format, audio format, and posing questions for Dungeon Master Johnny to contemplate, think about, and then come back with a series or a video response, depending on how he wants to break the video up, because there will be in-depth questions. The other thing that this program must do, and this is the other house rule, these questions must be only associated with gaming in general, role-playing games, and of course, obviously the YouTuber's channel. And we mustn't lose sight of the fact that Dungeon Master Johnny is the first here. And I want to thank him for agreeing, as so many have, agreeing to come onto this video series and be asked what I consider to be some difficult questions. Of course, you'll be the judge. So without further ado, let's move into the audio part of this program, and I'll see you again at the end. Dungeon Master Johnny, these are your difficult questions. My first question to you, Dungeon Master Johnny, is all about your gaming history. And what I'd like to know, and I'm sure the audience would at large as well, is to find out where gaming starts for you, Dungeon Master Johnny. Where's the very roots of it for you? And could you take us on a journey through that history to the present? I think we all know where you are right now, but it'd be great to see the journey that got you there. Thank you for covering off your gaming history, Dungeon Master Johnny. I'd line out to turn to your most recent history and go through the following point with you. It would seem that you were very heavily invested in 4th edition. You turned away from it for Pathfinder, claiming you'd had enough of 4th edition. Then you turned your back on Pathfinder quite rapidly, back towards 4th edition, and now you contend to be the source for D&D 5th, or at least that's how it comes across. Could you explain how and why, in your own words? Thank you, Dungeon Master Johnny, for answering your recent history. I'd line out to move over to 5th edition next, which you're currently covering on your channel, and NDA agreements. For the audience at large, NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, which currently a lot of people are affected by because of the way 5th edition is being done. Although they're doing an open playtest, they're not allowing people to speak particularly openly about this. However, on your channel, Dungeon Master Johnny, you quite openly do talk about 5th edition X and do go into the details regarding the various packets of information that they give out. What would you do if, for whatever reason, they decided, Wizards of the Coast, to tell you to pull those videos down? I know you've said you would remove them, but my question is, what would you focus on then, on your channel? Thank you for answering that question. We now turn our attention to the gaming timeline. What I mean by this is that role-playing games have a timeline, when it started, and where it is today, and the journey in between. Now you're relatively new in game terms to that timeline, and you yourself had admittedly broken the understanding of some of the core mechanics which have survived through the ages. Why should new players, or DMs for that matter, follow your advice? For answering the last question, Dungeon Master Johnny, I now move on to the best character question. Do you believe that there is a single best character to play? And if so, why? Thank you for answering that question, Dungeon Master Johnny. We now move on to this question around limits around your table. Are there any limits on things like race, class, spells, etc.? Do you set any at all? If so, what are they? Your previous answer, Dungeon Master Johnny. I now move on to something we've termed the golden chance. Are melee attacks a series of attempts with one roll reflecting that golden chance? If so, then how do you accept range attacks being one roll for one missile? For your last answer, Dungeon Master Johnny, I'd now like to move over to a riddle of sorts. A human is allowed a 5-foot step, and so is an elder worm. They are both literally a 5-foot step. Why is this? Thank you for your last answer, Mr. DMJ. We now move over to A is for armour. Why does armour in D20 not ablate a blow? Thank you for all your answers so far, Dungeon Master Johnny. We move on to your final question. I call it in the grand scheme of things. One of the hardest things that all us YouTubers have to face is this question. Do you think there are others with more experience, maybe a better style, and a firmer understanding of the rules to help new players and old? If so, Who are they? What channels do you believe uphold those qualities and why? I'd like to personally thank Dungeon Master Johnny for answering these questions in advance, and I look forward to actually seeing his video or video replies. It's no easy thing putting your head above the parapet and producing videos on YouTube, and I think we all recognise how hard it is to do that. But I think we're at a point, a crossroads if you will, where we as a community are now able to delve in a little deeper into what I call the difficult questions. I think we know enough about each other to do that. Now, to be fair to all those that I'm going to interview, in a few weeks' time, down the line, I'm going to ask Andre C Martinez. It is his idea. He inspired me. I hope he comes from behind the camera in front of it, and he will pose me some difficult questions. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to leave my email address as usual, and my next guest on the programme will be Dawnforgecast in a week's time on Friday. If you have a question for Dawnforgecast, of course it must be a difficult question you'd like to pose based on what you know of Dawnforgecast, then send that in to me. I will sift through those and pick the very best ones, and I'll put those questions to him next time on this programme. All that leaves me to do is to thank those that have watched. Thank you, Dungeon Master Johnny, in advance of his answers, and also say for all those who've kindly volunteered to put their names forward, I look forward to posing you the difficult questions. Till next time, take care of yourselves. A week today, we have Dawnforgecast. All the best to you and happy gaming, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.